Imagine waking up to find that Colin Kaepernick has become president of the United States. The transition was controversial. His narrow victory questioned in several states, but courts dismissed most challenges for lack of evidence. His supporters call any questioning of the results an attack on democracy. President Kaepernick quickly established himself as a different kind of leader. He speaks almost exclusively to friendly media outlets and labels critical press enemies of progress. When reporters ask tough questions, his communications director, a former social justice activist with no prior press experience, bars them from future briefings. Within his first month, Kaepernick issues a record number of executive orders, many reversing his predecessor's policies without congressional input. "I have a mandate to fix a broken system," he says, during a rare press conference where questions are pre-screened. His cabinet selections raise eyebrows across Washington. Rather than experienced government officials, he nominates loyal campaign surrogates, including several who had previously made controversial statements about dismantling systems of oppression. Many of Kaepernick's supporters who once championed institutional guardrails and democratic norms now embrace a quote-unquote by any means necessary approach to governance. The ends, they argue, justify the means. This scenario isn't about whether Kaepernick's policies are right or wrong. It's about process, consistency, and democratic norms. It asks a simple question. If you would be alarmed by these tactics from the other side, should you accept them from your own? Because when we normalize breaking democratic guardrails for our team, we shouldn't be surprised when the other team follows the same playbook. The precedents we accept today become the strategies used against us tomorrow. Perhaps the true measure of our political principles isn't how we judge our opponents' behavior, but whether we hold our allies to the same standards, even when it's inconvenient for our cause. I mean, what I've given you so far to think about is really light. I'm being gentle with you. But what's happening now is a little bit more extreme. For example, let's just say the entire Democratic Party treats Kaepernick as a deity. They let him do whatever he wants, even when it's reckless, even when it's borderline criminal. He's stacked his cabinet with radical leftists, including at least 5 people facing credible rape allegations. Some were the loudest pushers of Russiagate and the mythical Trump P-tape, yet now they're in charge of running our government. Kaepernick himself has declared the FBI racist and wants it abolished. He claims it targets oppressed groups, so they're pretty much out of the picture. And he uses his quote-unquote anti-racism crusade to justify mass firings, gutting the economy, and shutting down key agencies. But he's not doing it alone. Enter Palmer Luckey, the left-wing version of Elon Musk. Used to be far right-wing, but flipped so hard left he's basically doing lines of coke while chanting, "Dismantle the system." He sells his AI surveillance company to China for $20 billion, yep, billion, then rebrands himself a progressive hero. Next thing you know, he drops $200 million into Kaepernick's campaign, ranting on social media that if they don't crush this election, America is doomed. Together they launch a new agency, Luna, the Legislative Unit for National Accountability. Sounds official, right? In reality, it's a front for mass firings. Luna fires first, asks questions later, or never. Entire departments are wiped out on rumors of structural racism. They don't just hit minor offices either. They go straight for nuclear security, counterintelligence, you name it. And the folks they hire? Pretty much 23-year-old Twitter activists who think a spreadsheet is too corporate and that everything white adjacent is inherently evil. One Luna gem is a racist 19-year-old programmer who calls white people, quote unquote, the original monkey. He was fired from a previous job for leaking classified information. So how does Kaepernick reward him? By letting him run major government tech projects. He's bungled half of them already, yet he remains on the team. Meanwhile, we keep hearing about the big Epperson scandal. For years, these same people swore they'd release files tying conservatives to Alonzo Epperson, a black supremacist who did unthinkable things, rivaling Epstein. But now, with Kaepernick in power, they still won't release a scrap of proof. The only difference? Whispers suggest the files show Kaepernick himself, not conservatives, linked to Epperson. How convenient that the administration buries it, claiming, "We can't compromise the ongoing investigation." The media plays along and the FBI, gutted and labeled racist, says nothing. But the chaos doesn't stop there. Kaepernick introduces a mandatory cryptocurrency called Capcoin, touting it as the first currency of liberation. Not to be outdone, his wife launches Reparacoin. Both are forced out of businesses. People buy in droves only to watch them crash. Millions of regular folks go broke, while Kaepernick and Lucky magically walk away wealthier than ever. Then there's the war on the press. Kaepernick sues every outlet that criticizes him and bans Fox News from the White House. He signs an executive order renaming California to Mexico, and a nod to historical boundaries, and rebrands the entire continent to remove America because he says it's linked to colonialism. Thanksgiving? Gone. He calls it a genocidal holiday. Even the media personalities are flipping. Jason Whitlock, once a MAGA-friendly commentator, suddenly goes full left, lands a secret $100 million Spotify deal courtesy of Lucky's cash. Now he's gaslighting conservatives daily, labeling them white supremacist welfare leeches who can't handle Luna's righteous purges. And speaking of purges, the nuclear arsenal's oversight team fired. The counterintelligence squad disbanded. Some employees get rehired in a panic, then fired again days later because they had problematic tweets. Now we're missing entire layers of national security, but Luna insists we're saving billions. Reality check, turns out it's barely millions in so-called savings. And even if it were billions, we'd be dwarfed by the $1 trillion reparations plan Kaepernick wants to push. Internationally, Kaepernick picks a fight with Bibi Netanyahu, calling him a dictator. Meanwhile, a Hamas-affiliated news team gets a red carpet welcome in the Oval Office. The White House claims no idea how they got in, but they got to live stream Kaepernick bullying Bibi Netanyahu, at one point pushing him on the shoulder and asking him why he's so ungrateful after all the millions of dollars we've sent to Israel. While the country unravels, the administration dismisses every complaint as right-wing extremism. People losing jobs, losing pensions to crashed cryptos. They're told, "Oh, you're upset we ended your white supremacist programs? Sounds like you are the problem." Finally, conservatives, who once cheered these hard-boiled tactics, are feeling the burn. MAGA influencers vanish overnight for hate speech. GOP politicians beg to get their old seats back, only to be mocked. Ben Shapiro branded a danger under the Anti-Racist National Security Act and gone from social media. All this because the powers that be keep chanting, "We will make mistakes, but we will correct them." Yet every day they prove they can't correct anything. The left roars approval, convinced that each new fiasco means we're much closer to utopia. But from where the rest of us stand, it looks like pure unfiltered disaster. So ask yourselves, is this really the justice we wanted? Because when the tactics we once ignored get turned back on us, it's painfully obvious just how destructive they truly are.